So we've got a rather interesting potential Alpha Legion spear, new Playbearer sculpts going on sale with an Underworlds warband, Battleforces back in stock at discount in the USA, a rather creepy new Ogryn sculpt, and Soul Grinders being moved to Legends for Age of Sigmar. Let's do a roundup of some 40k news. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today I thought I'd do a quick video rounding up a bunch of interesting 40k news things that have happened over the past couple of days. Just talking through a bunch of small minor news, reveals, teasers and releases that I didn't really think needed a video all to themselves. First up, to check back in on Games Workshop's Christmas Battleforce sale. It does indeed appear that this year's somewhat slightly lukewarm received box sets haven't sold out in most of their web stores around the world, and now it looks like as a result a bunch of discount retailers will be getting their hands on a second wave of them. All the box sets besides the Dark Angels ones are now available for 15% off again in Wargame Portal in the USA, linked in the video description. Might be of interest to a few of you out there. Games Workshop often do have a bit of a funny system with discount retailers. For big limited edition fear of missing out style box sets like the Christmas Battleforces are, their policy seems to be to keep the vast majority of them for their own web store, only allow the discount retailers to have a small number of them when they initially try and order things that they think that people will want to buy. And then if Games Workshop doesn't sell out of the box sets on their web store, they open up their remaining store to the discount retailers, maybe thinking that they've sold to as many people are as willing to buy the sets at full price. To be honest, I'm not really too surprised that a bunch of these box sets didn't sell out at full price from most of the web stores around the world. The Dark Angels one maybe felt like the only one that did feel like it could be quite clearly worth it, even if bought direct, but with the discounts on the other sets being around about 30% or so, if you were missing out on say 15 to 20% worth of savings on discount retailers, it meant that you just weren't really getting all that much of a deal on the models within, compared with just buying the ones that you wanted at discount separately. It's a shame that it doesn't look like there's any more supply of the Dark Angels one on its way. Though of the rest, the Nightbox was the next most popular, and Tau after that. I feel like the Tau are at least a fairly useful component of an army, even if it is a bit weird to have a battle force that's just literally 4 biggish models. But in any case, it might be of interest that they're back at discount at the moment. I don't know how long that's going to last for. I guess it depends on how fast they sell out. Now people can buy through 15% off. I guess that the Knights one will be the next most likely one to sell out, and then probably the Tau after that, judging by previous channel polling. Otherwise though, it could be good news for people in other locations around the world. The Games Workshop web store for the UK and EU is out of the Knights and the Dark Angels, but it means that the rest might start to crop up in certain discount retailers who order in more of them. And the Australia web store has everything but the Dark Angels left, so it might be possible that in the coming weeks they let some Knights out to discounters down under. In any case though, it certainly feels like these have sold out far less fast than in previous years. I know last year we had the Space Marine box sets that seemed overproduced and stuck around for a while, but most of the rest of their army deals went fairly quickly. Next up, Games Workshop had a rumour engine teaser that was a lot more interesting than normal this morning, and potentially points to something at Alpha Legion, whether it's a minor or a major thing. The teaser shows a sort of bladed spearhead, twin prongs with a very straight slit down the middle going to a circle, and then 2 sets of barbs out the sides, and the thing bears a very close resemblance to the relic weapon that Alfarius carries on his 30k miniature, as you can see quite happily skewering a Space Marine onto his base there. The spear itself is supposedly an ancient Xenos relic, predating the rise of the Eldar according to the wiki, wielded by the Primarch when he was supposedly slain by Primarch Rogel Dawn at the battle around Pluto during the Horus Heresy. It was kept under lock and key by the Imperium after that, before being obtained by Alpha Legion leader Solomon Akira, so it's back in its Legion's own hands in the contemporary 40k setting. Whether or not it actually is that same pale spear or not though, is maybe a little bit less clear. The actual design of it doesn't quite match the one that's carried by Alfarius. It's got the barbs in roughly the same places, but a different sort of design on them. I can't help but think that if they were trying to replicate it exactly, they would have been a bit more faithful to the design of it, unless it's a slight reinterpretation, I suppose. I feel like it's close enough to strongly suggest Alpha Legion though, so it could be something like another character for them for the Horus Heresy. They have already had a few fun sculpts in the more recent era of Heresy resin sculpts. Otherwise on the 30k Reddit a sort suggested that it could be that Solomon Akira fellow, which given that he stars in a novel could be a Black Library release if there's another book coming out for him or something. Or otherwise it could be another model for Heresy era, maybe a sculpt for Omegon if we have Alfarius. The Primarchs are supposedly twins, though so little is known about them that lots of people aren't sure. And technically if Games Workshop wanted to milk every drop out of the Primarch releases, they could release one for Omegon to counterpart Alfarius. I guess if so, that could be one explanation for why the sculpt is similar but not quite the same. I'm not sure if there'd be quite as much desire for a remade Alfarius though, to go along with their transfigured and ascended ones like Fulgrim and Horus that they did. His sculpt was one of the more recent ones, and he doesn't strike me as a Primarch that would have been changed all that much by Chaos and things, so maybe that feels like a little bit less likely, even if it's possible. Let me know what you think though. Is it for 40k or Heresy, or something completely different beyond the reach of the 20th Legion? Next up, there's a fun new Ogryn sculpt running around. This one, a fun and rather creepy looking sculpt for Necromunda. I feel like they have had a pretty steady stream of fairly cool and interesting looking releases coming out for them on their Monday previews recently. These ones are apparently Ogryn Ferryman who convey people to the depths of the Underhells to loot Hive Secundus for fame, glory and technology. Their names Madric Hellbane and Ogryn Lugron. Out of the two miniatures, the Ogryn's definitely my favourite one, carrying a great big halberd sort of weapon, and his other hand is carrying a coiled grappling hook. It's got a nice sinister mask with some lens eyes, and some fun patched up armour that looks like it's been assembled over a good period of time. In general, looks like reception to the models have been fairly good. Again, they are inexpensive Forge World resin once more. Games Workshop tends to mainly do Necromunda special characters and things in Forge World resin, with just the odd things coming out in plastic for more mainstream releases. As I imagine, as a slightly bigger model than most, I expect this one would set you back more than you really want it to. I guess if you wanted to make use of him in Warhammer 40k, it could be a very different take on an Ogryn bodyguard, or perhaps sub in for that Traitor Enforcer Chaos Ogryn, though to be fair, that guy's already got really quite a cool sculpt already. One other thing that caught my attention was that it sounds like Soul Grinders are going away from Age of Sigmar. It's a bit of an interesting case in that it's a 40k model, but it's been retired from the other setting that you can currently play it in. This one had confirmation in the new Chaos Slaves to Darkness book coming out for Age of Sigmar, where the Warhammer social media team clarified the unit entries that were going to be going away, 4 unit entries being retired in a War Shrine, Manticore Lords, and the Soul Grinder. That means I guess the Soul Grinder is going to be just for Warhammer 40k and no longer for Age of Sigmar. And I guess that if it is sticking around for the 40k setting and Games Workshop doesn't pull a surprise retirement there, they'd probably need to wind up repackaging it. I believe the only packaging that it's had in the past is the one on the top right, where it's sort of agnostic between the two settings. Though currently it's online only, so maybe it just ships out in their generic white boxes. I'm sure it must be annoying for people out there who bought it for Age of Sigmar and Age of Sigmar alone. Must feel a bit arbitrary if the model is still sticking around, which it seems to be at the moment at least, even if the aesthetic of it always did feel a bit more 40k versus Sigmar. I believe it got released in the early sort of days of when Chaos Demons were a thing, but I believe it was available to both the settings at the time when that happened. In any case, hopefully it isn't any sort of portent of the thing going away altogether. I'm not sure to be many people's favourite models out there, but it feels like quite a nice one for tying Chaos Demons together, as you can feel it as different deities in a similar way to Demon Princes. I guess we'll find out when we hear more news about Chaos Demons and whether or not they're getting reinterpreted in some way or another. For this week's releases, it mainly seems to be focusing on Age of Sigmar things, both them and Underworlds. As mentioned with Soul Grinder, it looks like it's the launch of Slaves to Darkness for their new edition of the game. Their Abraxia leader miniature is going on sale, along with an interesting sorcerer type guy. Could be of interest to some Chaos collectors of one sort or another. I feel like that's really quite a cool steed. Maybe you could make it fit for something like a Lord Discordant and a Hellstalker or something similar. Otherwise though, the second half of the week's releases are Warhammer Underworlds. We had the main Emberguard launch box set come out a little while back. For their new edition of the game though, they decided to repackage a whole bunch of previous teams all together in some 4-set big boxes, the ones for the different Grand Alliances, so there's an Order and Destruction and Chaos and Death one. And it was interesting to see those combo boxes come out. Apparently they're $100, £67 or €85 or thereabouts. I'm not really too sure how to feel about those. It does look like compared with buying the Underworlds team separately, they're around about $45. So it's around about 40% off the overall value if you bought all of them, though each of those teams are generally kind of low on the model count of things. Some of the models are big fun ones, though some of them are kind of tiny little swarms and things. It's maybe an interesting mix of a bunch of different sets and quite a lot of fun factor, but maybe not all that many miniatures for $100 or like £67. Let me know your thoughts on them value-wise in any case. Nurgle collectors in 40k might have some interest in the Nurgle Grandfather's Gardeners that are going on sale this week though. If you just wanted some fun aesthetic looking plague bearers to act as unit fillers for the army, I feel like these guys could do rather well. They're going about doing their Nurgle thing, as whether it's sewing a bunch of maggots out of a sort of seed bag made out of his guts, keeping some tallies and some books with some rather disturbing looking cauldron of some sort, a great big fly thing, and most of these guys have got all sorts of parasitic things burrowing in all over them. Finally, there's also a new towel book out this week as well, the Elemental Council one. Definitely going to be kind of niche appeal as to whether or not you've got any interest into the faction. I always find it kind of interesting when we get Xenos point of view books written in 40k, just daring to shake it up a little bit from the formula of focusing on, say, the Space Marines or Imperial Guard. Finally, there was one other small interesting thing that I noticed about Games Workshop's preview stream, which is going to be coming out on Friday. I talked about that quite a bit in the last video. Hopefully we'll be seeing some manner of Deathcore of Krieg goodness there, probably a launch box going by their normal patterns, but I guess we'll see. One thing I did find interesting though is that Games Workshop looked like they switched from Twitch as the primary place where they promote their streams to YouTube now. I feel like in the past whenever they've had their announcements they've said catch it on Twitch or on the Warhammer community webpage, whereas now it seems that they're going for the Warhammer YouTube channel as the primary place, though I guess they'll probably dual stream it on Twitch. I think they did that last time. I must admit I'm probably less well informed than I should be about the ins and outs of streaming things. I've certainly heard not many people say good things about Twitch recently for being a place to stream versus elsewhere. It looks like Games Workshop is agreeing to some extent, deciding that they want to host on YouTube primarily as opposed to Twitch as the main place that they build their audience and drive people towards if they are going to go beyond their Warhammer community sites. In any case, I kind of hope they keep the format for the last one. It just felt like a lot more grounded and down to earth and focusing on the actual pictures of the models that we wanted to see, rather than a bit more slightly awkward and speculative chat about things that they're not really able to reveal yet and just talking about things that they'd already released. In any case, I'll leave that one there for now. Let me know what you make of the possible Alpha Legion Spear. What model do you think that could be from? How do you rate the Ferryman Ogryn? And let me know your thoughts on all Games Workshop's news releases and other things. As mentioned, if you were looking to land one of those Christmas Battleforces, Wargame Portal will have them links down in the video description. And as always with the channel affiliates, anything bought through them will help to support Allspec Tactics a bit. If you did happen to have your eye on something, but the discount didn't look tempting enough at full Games Workshop prices. In any case though, I'll leave that there for now. Feel free to subscribe to Allspec Tactics if you'd like to see more like this. I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming, posting new stuff every day. Otherwise, if you'd like to support the channel more directly, I do have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description down below. Channel patrons get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with the chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.